Baldur's Gate came out, and it broke absolutely every single expectation anyone ever had. It is like, I am saying this out of love, okay? It is the ultimate neckbeard game. And I personally was always worried, you know? I am out here always waiting for the next big MMO. And I was always scared that when the next big MMO comes out, times will have changed and no one will play MMOs. But Baldur's Gate single-handedly told me that no, my fellow neckbeards are still out there. We never left. We were simply waiting. We are still waiting, and we will be there when it comes out. So let's watch the video. And also, it's about microtransactions, right? And I have a lot of takes on this, so we'll talk about it.
I cannot begin to tell you how happy I am to see Larian Studios succeed with the critical and commercial hit that is Baldur's Gate 3. The user score on Metacritic is maintaining its overwhelmingly positive score.
So by the way, if you don't know, this game is basically D&D, but in computer form, and it is literally the ultimate form of that. It's been developed for like, I don't know how many years. It's basically, if you can think about it, you can probably do it in the game. That is how developed it is.
Go to Metacritic. While we haven't seen more critic reviews to give us a better picture for what the Metascore will be like, I'd be surprised if the game didn't maintain a high Metascore. And the Metacritic user score is still maintaining itself at a 9.3, this time from 446 ratings, whereas before the user score was at a 9.3 from 150 ratings.
I do think, I haven't played the game. So do take this with a grain of salt. I haven't played the game myself yet. I don't know if I will. I might try it out because I'm honestly interested, but you know, we'll see. I would love to play this with a group of buddies, but none of my friends are really that into D&D. Anyway, I do think that some of the score might be a bit positively inflated, if that makes sense. This is not to take away from the game. This is just my observation. Nowadays, people are very, very emotional, and a lot of people don't rate things at all. They give things either a 0 or a 100. And a lot of the people in between never give a rating to anything because they don't care. They just play their game. They might love it, but they just don't care to rate it, right? And a lot of people are either 100s or 0s. And let's be honest, most of those do not matter. Anyone who gives anything 100, there is a very good chance that it's probably not a 100. It's probably like a 99, 98, something like that. Nothing is truly perfect, you know? Let's be real here. And those 0s, anyone who gives 0 to a game like this has never played a 0.
And then beyond that, the game is selling gangbusters based on the peak concurrent players. And
it's already over 800,000. I think it's 800-something thousand today.
Fact that it keeps going up every day. On launch day, August 3rd, the peak was...
By the way, I know I keep stopping. This is how you know a game is popping off. Not when it hits a high peak, but when it keeps going up. If it keeps going up, you know that there is like actual positive reinforcement and the loop continues, right? So a lot of people play it, a lot of people see it, they see something good, more people start playing it. That's when things are really, really good. Because most games peak, nowadays that we have the early release thingy, a lot of games peak before they've even released, you know? This is insane.
Was roughly at 470,000 players, and then that became 600,000 players on August 4th yesterday, and then today on August 5th the game has peaked at over 700,000 players. This is massive, and keep in mind that the game isn't even out on PlayStation 5 yet, and the Xbox version is set to arrive sometime in 2024 is the prediction.
I didn't know this. Based. So based. Focus on the PC version. Let's be honest. Anyone who plays a game like this, they're a PC game. Let's be fully real here. You know, anyone who plays a game like this, they have a PC. Let's be honest.
And the game isn't even out on consoles, and it's pulling numbers like these. Larian Studios is flying. Word is spreading about just how content-rich and feature-complete this game is. It's insane just how much content I've already discovered in what little of the map I've explored. Baldur's Gate 3 just feels like a video game in its purest form. No monetization, no exploitation, no artificial elements to try to keep you in.
Imagine opening a game and it being a game. There is not a big pop-up of a limited time offer. 800% value.
Engaged or whatever. It just feels like the goal of the game was to maximize the fun and the immersion and the narrative and just bring out the best of Baldur's Gate and what makes Dungeons and Dragons special. Every bit of dialogue is well written, voiced, and all of it feels very cinematically presented. The gameplay, the way it's basically adapted the 5th edition D&D system 1-to-1 and how addictive the combat is. I mean, every aspect of this game just shines, and it looks fantastic to boot. I'm not saying that Baldur's Gate 3 is the only game that is massive and consumer-friendly and just rich in its content and substance, but there's just something about Baldur's Gate 3 that feels really special because it is a true RPG, the likes of which we haven't seen in a very long time, at least not to this degree of scale.
It's probably Elden Ring, right? It's like the last one we saw. Like an actual RPG-ass RPG. Like, there's no strings attached. Play the game, that's the game.
Scale and richness, complexity, and player agency, and like true role-playing.
To be fair, though, I think games like Baldur's Gate will by default have like more player choice than Elden Ring, right? Because there is player choice in Elden Ring, but it's not really the same. You know, there is a lot of choice in what you do, but I think because it's like less narratively driven, it just has a lot of less of that by default, I guess.
You know, it feels like going back to an old friend, an old genre whose potential has been taken to its current apex. I hope to do a more dedicated video on Baldur's Gate 3 as a video game to talk about all of its merits, but beyond that, for this video, I want to talk about just how based Larian Studios as a developer is. On their official website, they have this FAQ section.
Oh, I want to talk about this.
They present a number of questions that people might have.
I saw this on Twitter.
Among the ones that they decided to highlight is this one right here. Are there any in-game purchases? And their response is just absolutely perfect. No, there are no in-game purchases in our game. We believe in providing a complete and immersive gaming experience without the need for additional purchases. Enjoy the game to its fullest without any additional costs or microtransactions.
Before we watch anything else, this might be a hot take, especially in the modern day. I think any sort of visual thingy that you can buy for money devalues the entirety of the game. I have never bought them, and I never will because I literally do not see... Like, imagine playing an RPG and buying something that you can replace armor with. That is like removing 40% of what the RPG is about. My fantasy when I play an RPG, I want to start in rags, and I want to make my way up to, like, the most badass armor in the game. Why would I buy a cosmetic that replaces that entire game process? I don't see the value in it. But the thing is, I think, like, I don't care about it in single-player games that much, to be honest, even though it does also create an incentive for them to make, like, really, really cool-looking armor and put it on the store, and then make less cool armor in the game, which, again, sort of devalues the entire game. But especially in multiplayer games, I think putting in stuff like this automatically makes the game less immersive, especially in MMORPGs. Because if you walk into a town and you see someone wearing something from the store, instead of thinking, like, wow, you look cool, you know, how did you get that? Even if you don't think about that, you know, like even in modern games, let's be honest, no one really looks at you and thinks like, oh my god, you're such a Giga Chad. Like, we don't really see that much. But like, just knowing that it comes from the store, it's just like a thing at the back of your mind. Oh, you're playing a game? Well, he swiped for that. He just bought that, you know? Again, I don't care about it. I'm not going to buy it. And like, you're certainly not going to impress me with your freaking $20 skin. I literally couldn't care less. But like, it does devalue the entire game for me from an immersion perspective. Just seeing it out in the world is just like, it's not a fantasy world anymore, you know? Like, to me, a fantasy world doesn't involve armor someone has paid $20 for. I don't know. And like, hold on. Do we want to go into this? Like, I play World of Warcraft, okay? World of Warcraft has a box price. So you buy an expansion for, I think they start at $40 now. Or 40 euros, or 50 euros. I don't know. I haven't bought a Blizzard game in years because I always just use WoW Gold. Anyway, so you need to buy the game for 50 euros. Then you have to pay for a subscription, which is 13 euros, I believe, per month. Right? So you already have the entrance fee, which is at least 60-something euros plus a monthly sub. That monetization for a single game is insane. Which, by the way, if you did not know, you can get Game Pass for like however many, I think it's like 15-something euro, and it has like 100 games or something. It's ridiculous. And then you compare that to World of Warcraft, a single game that has a box price, and it's not over just yet, because they also have 20 euro mounts, 20 euro skins, account services, level boosts, and everything like that. It's like, at what point do we stop? That's why this is so based. That is why I'm so happy to see Baldur's Gate succeed, and people are so happy about it, because it is going to send a message. That is the best thing that will come out of this. 800,000 people playing it on Steam, that sends a message.
People have already taken notice of this statement, and it's gone viral. You can
This is the first thing I saw about Baldur's Gate when it was released. This exact tweet.
tell how much people are clamoring
so
for these
good.
types of pure gaming
Like a fantasy world where you can get everything in the game. You don't need to swipe. Imagine that.
experiences. How welcome these kinds of rare breed games are when they do come along on a AAA scale every once in a while. On some level, it's kind of sad that seeing a statement like this brings me so much joy, because back in the good old days, this was
It's just a game. Like, that's what it should be. That's the thing. And that's the sad part about it.
just standard, right? Games were much more pure before corporate greed began to corrupt game design through the mandated implementation of monetization systems or artificial extension of gameplay that make games grindier so that the monetization systems can alleviate those artificially implemented insufferable elements. There's so much focus on
This is why, like, I'm going to go off on another tangent, but this is also why I'm sort of holding out hope for Ashes of Creation, because they have no shareholders to report to. They are making a game that they want to play. And that is the best thing you can have. Making a game because you want to play that game. Obviously, they need to make money. Let's be honest. Like, you're not going to make a game because you're just kind-hearted. Unless you're like a billionaire. Give me $1 billion and I'll try to make... I'll probably fail, but I will try to, you know? But that is like making a game you want to play. Let's be honest. No one wants to pay for things in your own game. You know? It's just like not something you want. So it's sort of like indicative of what to expect. And I think Larian Studios, again, this sends a message that people want this, and people will value this, and people might even pay a higher price for the game itself instead of paying for some weird microtransactions. Let's
on
keep
live
going.
services
I
with
might have more to
multiple
say.
types of premium currencies meant to confuse customers.
Another hot premium currencies. I don't understand how they're legal. I literally don't. How is making a... We literally learn about this in business school. You make things that detach people's value from their real money, right? So you give me 100 euros, I will give you 100 tokens. How is that different? The only thing that happens in your brain is that you don't attach the value to the tokens because you don't know what a token is. You know what a dollar is, you don't know what a token is. How are virtual currencies allowed? It is the most predatory thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And everyone is just like, yeah, makes sense. What? How? What?
And meant to get them to spend as much money as possible so that they can reasonably obtain the rewards and items that they want, or reasonably progress through the game. Even a lot of single-player games that come out in this day and age try to find some way to implement some form of microtransactions, with companies calling them time savers when the reality is that they just...
Anything that is... like, why is there a time saver in the game? You know? Let's ask the simple question. Why are you selling me a time saver? Why would I want to save my time? Because you made me waste my time. Think about that.
Decided to take out features or content so that players would have to shell additional money on top of the $60 to $70 premium price point. And these are elements that do take you out of the game, that make you remember that this is a product rather than a fully immersive experience. But then a game
like Valheim. Valheim is the single game that made me so immersed. I remember playing Valheim when it came out and just getting lost in the forest. I was just listening to the Meadows music, and it was just a game. Literally no strings attached whatsoever. It was just a game. And Valheim is still one of my top gaming experiences of the past, like, I don't know how many years. It was so good. Just because it was literally just a game.
Like Baldur's Gate 3 comes out to remind us just how good we had it before microtransactions were normalized, but at the same time, it's good to see that these kinds of studios still exist, the ones who prioritize really giving players the most value out of their $60 to $70 purchase as possible. And I commend them for putting this on their website and making an official statement about this, because on some level, they're low-key calling out the rest of the industry, those big third-party publishers and companies who insist on compromises for the sake of...
The fact that they added the sentence, like, enjoy a fully immersive experience, something blah, 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 that is like a jab. That is a jab, and I like that. I respect that.
Profit who insist on corrupting game design and player experience because there are ways to use the interactive nature of video games to squeeze players and psychologically manipulate them. But a private and independent company like Larian Studios, who are self-published and who are their own bosses, don't have to adhere to those corporate agendas so long as the leader is as passionate about gaming as the community is. The leader of Larian Studios is Sven Vick, who is a gamer and a fan of fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons at heart. You can just see how much fun he's having with the creative process of this game. Like, you don't see freaking Bobby Kotick doing stuff like this, do you?
He needs a yacht. What do you mean? He needs a yacht. He's just playing GTA. He is doing the same thing. He's just playing GTA. You just don't realize it.
A studio like Larian Studios, a publisher like Larian Studios, is not common at all in this day and age. And so to see them succeed and to see them have this stance on in-game purchases and to see them just deliver such a pure video game and to see the audience and the people react accordingly by buying this game and enjoying it en masse with concurrent players peaking higher and higher every day, it just warms my heart and it gives me hope that, you know, more development.
Maybe this is copium, but I do think that like so many people voicing their support is sort of, it's indicative more so than it is like just people even playing the game, you know? Don't get me wrong, the game is great, people enjoy it, that's good. But I think the ripples it sends throughout the industry is kind of even more important, you know? Because, again, I've never understood it. I literally do not understand, like, on a fundamental level, I don't understand why people buy things in video games. Like, cosmetics, I mean. It just does not make sense to me. I do not see the value in buying a cosmetic in a video game. Unless it is, like, which again, that all comes back to predatory stuff. If it's about, like, collecting everything, you know, like I do in World of Warcraft, for example. I wanted to collect all the mounts. But, I mean, again, I do that through gold, so I haven't really invested any money, so I guess I'm sort of part of the problem, but not really. But there, too, it's sort of predatory, right? If you're just making the person want to fill up all the bars for no reason, just because, like, it's that type of game. I don't know. Like, obviously, the very, very simple solution is if nobody bought any microtransactions whatsoever, they'd be gone tomorrow. It's just like however many % of people buying them, and that's why they exist. So I hope that this will basically create a sort of a split in the market, right? Where we have games designed for hardcore gamers who don't want any sort of weird stuff in their game, and the normies, if you will, right? Like people who play FIFA. They buy FIFA, the same game, every single year, and they spend however many buckaroos they want on their little players every single year. Literally the same exact thing for no reason, you know? So they can do whatever, but let's make games without weird stuff, especially fantasy games.
Studios, up-and-comers or established ones will follow this model and understand that this model is sorely missed and can be highly...
I think I keep pausing. AA studios will use this to the fullest extent. You know why? Because this is free plus reputation. Now, if you release a game and tell everyone there are no microtransactions, everyone will be like, oh yes, look at that. Look at what Baldur's Gate did. Good job on you. Great. We're gonna buy you now. AA studios will eat this up. AAA studios, well, we'll see.
Be successful if you deliver. And what makes Larian Studios even more based is that its CEO has come out to say that it intends to stay private and independent. It intends to not be corrupted by corporations who may be looking to acquire Larian Studios. A few days ago, on August 3rd, 2023, news outlet Bloomberg released an article titled The Strange Story Behind Baldur's Gate 3, one of the year's biggest releases. Reporter Jason Schreier spoke to Larian Chief Executive Officer, or CEO, Sven.
FIFA is the perfect example since they reuse so much of the code from previous years. They keep forgetting and changing the posters, and they show wrong every year. And that's the thing. Literally no one cares. I'm pretty sure they could change the fonts on the game, release it again, most people wouldn't even notice. And if they would, no one would care, because like us people on the internet, we'd be like, why are you releasing the same game? How is this even legal? People who would buy FIFA are just gonna be like, yeah, whatever, I just bought it. Or maybe they never even see anything going on YouTube. They just buy the game. I don't know how people... I genuinely do not understand how those people exist. Like, every single sports game, them releasing the same exact thing year after year, and nothing is changing, and it's still bringing in, like, literally boatloads of money. I do not understand. Maybe this is dismissive. I just don't care about that segment of the market. I'm just gonna be honest. Like... I just don't. I just really don't.
And Vink. And among the topics that was brought up was a list of potential acquisitions that Microsoft and Xbox were trying to make. I believe this was information that came out as part of their court proceedings with the FTC in regards to the Activision Blizzard acquisition and whether that's anti-competitive or not. Microsoft has this internal mergers and acquisitions consideration list from back in 2021. And you can see that this list included some major players, including Bungie, FromSoft, CD Projekt, Hello Games, IO Interactive, Crytek. And among those listed was none other than Larian Studios, developers of Divinity and Baldur's Gate 3. Jason Schreier brought this up to Vink alongside speculation.
Yeah, I wonder how much ground that actually has, because I think this is like, it's hard to say, right? Hold on, let me look at this. In a slide deck, which is top choices for potential mergers and acquisitions. Yeah, like I wonder if any of this actually means anything, or it's just like look at all these big studios, we might buy some of them, you know? Because that might be just something they try to value their competitors, because that's what you do a lot, right? In finance, you just value your other competitors that you might want to acquire. So I don't know if there's actually much weight in this, but it's still a good sign, you know, that they're among them.
Studios, developers of Divinity and Baldur's Gate 3. Jason Schreier brought this up to Vink alongside speculation that an Xbox acquisition of Larian might still be in consideration, to which Vink straight up said, "I'm getting older, but I'm certainly not done yet." He has no plans to sell anytime soon. A new owner might pressure Larian to maximize profit while curtailing its creative choices, Vink said. And then this is a direct quote: "The strength of this company is that I'm very invested in the gameplay, and I also make the ultimate decisions. We can do things in service of the games we're making." That's the thing.
And this is the best part. Like, this does not, like, don't get me wrong, this does not guarantee good games. The vision might still be wrong, but there is a creative vision. They know what they want to make, and they're making what they want to play. It might not be the game for you, but it is a game they themselves want to play. So it won't be tainted by weird things, because they don't want weird things in the game. Because, again, they want to play the game, you know? So there won't be weird, like, time wasters. Like, people arguing about whether or not time savers are pay to win just boggles my mind, by the way. So let's not get into that.
The thing about Vink, he's not just a businessman who's a CEO. He is a gamer who's a CEO. He values these franchises, these video games, as much as we do, so he puts that passion back into the games and doesn't want that to be corrupted by corporate greed, by the pursuit for profit, because for him, that's not the end goal. For him, the end goal is that creative fulfillment and giving players a really special experience.
Imagine starting a company, literally just pouring millions and millions of dollars into it just because you wanted to play a game. Like, it's just like, you know what? I kind of want an MMO. How about we get the boys together and just like, it's like start making it.
The interactive nature of video games, this very special medium that's so unique that he's also so passionate about. This is a CEO who's also a big fan of the projects that he's undertaking and understands the responsibility that he has to players. And so the top priority for him is to do these games justice, to make the game that is the dream game for him, and in turn the dream game for players, the game that he would want to play and experience and realize. And it's a beautiful thing. It's all too rare. And it pleases me to hear that Vink has no intentions to sell Larian Studios anytime soon, because
Path of Exile started with 3 guys in a garage wanting to make a better version of Diablo 2. Well, see how that turned out.
It is my belief that a game like Baldur's Gate 3 would never be made under a more corporate environment. A game like Baldur's Gate 3 exists because it's a labor of love. It is a genuine passion project and not just a profit-driven project.
And like,
Larian
that's the thing. And like, don't get me wrong, a lot of these developers love what they're doing. Like, let's be honest, I would say 90% of developers love every single thing they do. The problem is they're not the ones making decisions, and the problem is they're not the ones making sometimes the most vital of decisions, right? You develop a gameplay loop, and then someone like up above you is like, wait, hey, this looks like a good gameplay loop, but could you just like add 20% of stuff in there so we can like stretch our player metrics, you know, just a little bit. It's just 20%, you know, it's not a big deal. And the developer might be like, wait, hold on, like we developed this with these intrinsic values, and it needs to be like this. But they're just like, come on, it is what it is. Just add the 20%, it'll be fine, you know. And it's things like that that just ruin the entire thing that has nothing to do with the actual game. And obviously, like, schedules get squished because they need to meet deadlines and everything like that. Because I think, how when was Baldur's Gate, the early access, released? Because it's been in early access for literal years, right? I remember people talking about playing Baldur's Gate like literally 4 or 5 years ago. So technically it's been available for a long time. It's just now the finished game came out. With like a proper AAA release, that's just something that doesn't happen, you know? And I think if it did, people would get angry that a AAA studio is trying to now go into early access.
Being a private and independent company and having
A little over 3 years, I think. Okay, so I might be... Well, time is an illusion.
a
Anyway.
CEO who's essentially like the creative director of its projects and who is creatively invested in these projects, that affords a level of flexibility, a level of passion, and that passion being allowed to shine to its fullest degree that I feel like it's just not possible in another environment where there is a corporate overlord who oversees everything and who wants things done a certain way or by a certain time. Baldur's Gate 3 is a product of a studio that could really do whatever they wanted, push their ambitions.
I think a certain way is not really a point, because like they just don't care. Like they just need metrics. It's literally all they need, you know? I think it's a certain time and potentially to inflate metrics, even though they don't understand how.
However far they could was well managed.
2020 lasted 5 years,
there's some behind-the-scenes stuff that I haven't heard about. But given that Baldur's Gate 3 came out the way it did, and given that Vink himself has come out and said that the reason he delayed the console versions was because, in part, he didn't want his developers, the people working under him, his employees, and his colleagues to crunch. Like, all of that suggests that, you know, Larian Studios is just a gem of...
The fact that didn't he say like the PS5 version is going to come out before the Xbox one? Like, again, usually people delay things to release them at the same time, right? This is literally like, we'll get it done when we get it done. Just wait. We'll get it done. It's going to be great. Just wait. You know?
Publisher, a company, and development team. Just every aspect of Baldur's Gate 3 was so well handled. From the early access, it is, I think, one of the best uses of early access. They allowed players to play a significant portion of the game, thereby allowing the community to play test elements and provide feedback that was then used to improve the game. Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't over-marketed. They didn't over...
This is a double-edged sword. Play testing, especially as far as I understand, like he said, a large part, but from what I've heard, it's not actually like that much. Like there's a lot of things people didn't know about the game. So I think playtesting RPGs especially is a bit of a double-edged sword, because you don't want to release a solved game. This is something I always say about like World of Warcraft. They release solved games and it just like, what's the point of playing an RPG if you know everything? Like everyone's run the math, everyone knows everything. Like what's the point? But I think with Baldur's Gate, it wasn't actually that much. You know. Also, I know this is a very charming frame to stop on. I'm sorry. But yeah, I think releasing it to test the fundamentals is a very, very good idea. I will say that. Obviously, that has a lot of value.
Promise too much on anything, and they didn't output these fake, overly decorated trailers. They often just showed the game, its flaws and all. And then at the end of the day, they delivered a massive game full of substantial content with rich RPG systems, with a tabletop system fully intact. They didn't rush the console versions out. They didn't pull a Cyberpunk where they shipped completely broken console versions. Instead, they evaluated the situation, realized that they needed to prioritize the PC version and delay the PlayStation 5 version till September, and the Xbox version they need to delay further because they need extra time to implement split-screen co-op on Xbox Series S. Nothing about the game feels phoned in or artificially crafted. Everything just feels meticulously handcrafted. Every bit of content feels like it was done with care, and no monetization systems or microtransaction schemes to corrupt the gameplay design. The one thing you might pay extra for is the deluxe edition of the game. So on Steam, that'd be $70. On PlayStation 5, that'd be $80, which comes with a few goodies like the digital original soundtrack, a digital art book, digital character sheets, and some little bits of items and content in the game that are neat little extras, but you're really not missing out on much at all by not purchasing the digital deluxe edition. You can see the details if you go to the Steam page.
Let me look at this. So just like a cape, a hat, a guitar, and a sword, and a mask. I mean, yeah. Sure, I guess. Why not? Like, it's something, but, you know, it's like, this isn't egregious. Again, you know, drawing the line, where is it? I really don't care.
browse through the
This is completely
screenshots.
fine to me.
I, for one, personally would have no qualms getting the more expensive edition or paying that extra $10 after the fact just to support the
send a
studio
message.
because of what a remarkable video game they've constructed here and because of their display of consumer friendliness and not compromising on the integrity of their creativity that is harder and harder to find in the modern day AAA gaming landscape. So just lots of kudos to Larian. Just big congrats to them on the massive critical and commercial success of this game. Here's to whatever may come next for this studio. I wish them all the best. Larian Studios is proving to be the developers that we need, but not the one we deserve. Anyway, that's my take on all of the awesome developments surrounding Baldur's Gate 3. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on Baldur's Gate 3 and what your experience has been like with the game if you've been checking it out. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.
All right, that was a great video. I do want to check out this again because I think this is something that people. Oh yeah, it's also people have stopped here a bunch. This is something people will immediately say. You know, like you say you don't sell microtransactions, but hey, there are microtransactions. You know, and this is something that I feel like is, you know, like where do you draw the line? To me, this is completely fine because it's just like for the digital deluxe and it's a one-time thing, and like most of it is actually like the soundtrack and everything. I think this is perfectly fine. It is cosmetics, which I'm sort of almost always completely against, but this is fine to me. Like, it's a one-time thing. They said they're not going to add any more, and like, no, I can't fault them for this, you know. And this is probably something they've had for a long time already in the game, so, you know. I played the early access, so I got that free. Now worth a nickel, much less than $10, but some people will buy it just because they want to lick Larian boots. Yeah, and I mean, this is like, again, if you really, really want to draw the line, if you want to be like an absolutist, buy the game, don't buy this. You know, if you want to really, really, really hone in on what you believe, buy this game to send a message, don't buy the DLC. Like, if you really, really want to do it. But, I don't know, to me, I haven't played the game, I don't know what's really in it, but to me, this is fine. Especially with what they've said in their other things. And obviously, if they add something later, they'll be torn to shreds. And just out of curiosity, I want to check how many players there are right now. Peak players were 814,000. Yeah, it's a Monday. Makes sense. Or rather, it's a Tuesday. It's not a Monday. That is very, very, very good to hear. I'm very happy about this. Because, like, to me, again, this sends... today's not a Monday. Yeah, I know, it's a Tuesday. To me, this sends a message to the neckbeards. The neckbeards, my fellow neckbeards. We are still out there. We are all just lying in wait. And when the next big thing comes out, we will arrive, and we will arrive in force. It'll be great. It'll be very, very good. I'm very, very happy to see it succeed. I don't know if I'll play it myself. I've been eyeing it a lot, because I am an RPG enjoyer, but I'm not like the biggest turn-based RPG enjoyer. I sort of want to get really into it. But I might. We'll see. I'm very, very happy to see it succeed, though. So that's great. I'll link the video